thumbs up here or here? Thumbs up.
Hello, everyone. This is a meeting of the Board of Assessors in Northborough, Massachusetts. Today is January 17th, 2023. I have a brief introduction to read. This open meeting of the Board of Assessors is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on July 16th, 2022. All members of the Board of Assessors are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The Act allows the Board of Assessors to meet entirely remotely as long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow by using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. At this time, I'd like to introduce our new assessor, Lee Kiamani-Vong, and I will take a roll call. When I say your name, please state that you are here by saying aye. Lee Kiamani-Vong.
Aye.
Paul Sibeli.
Aye.
Jason Little.
Aye.
Brian Fernandez.
Aye.
And I'm here, Patricia Mispelli. So on today's agenda, we are going to start off by having a discussion of senior tax relief with Jason Little, who is the finance director for the town of Northborough. So at this point, I'll let you take the floor, Paul or Jason, and get that discussion rolling. And I also, before we do that, sorry, I'd like to also take roll call for our board member, Christopher Reedy. Okay, great. So Chris has joined the meeting. Feel free to take it away. Thanks.
Okay, so I guess one of the things that we had talked about during classification was tax relief for our seniors. And I think we forwarded a couple of potential articles to Jason. I do believe the first one we're going to talk about is deferral. And that was specifically asked, if I remember correctly, by the board. So one of the things we did, we're currently here, from what I understand, with the original version of the deferral, which is 8%, and I believe gross receipts at 20,000. Is that correct, Patty? We're still at the original version.
Nothing has changed.
We never changed any of those. By local option, you are allowed through town meeting to change the interest rate and the gross receipts. So as the assessor for the town of Southborough, I can tell you that we went from 8% to 4% probably 8 or 10 years ago. And then we went from 4% to 2%. And we also at that time went from 20,000 to 45,000 for gross receipts. So Jason, what I've done is I forwarded over the article to Patty to distribute, just to give you an idea what we had in Southborough. And we are currently at 2%, 45,000.
Yeah, so
we researched, I'm not sure how high we can go on the gross receipts. Just in Southborough, the 45,000 tied to something we were doing with the senior work-off program.
Right.
We give preference to people who are under 45,000. And that's we just kind of matched it. This is just a draft that we put together. This is, as far as the interest rate in the 45,000, I mean, really, I think it's going to be up to the selectmen to decide if that's what they want to go with. But I think we did make a full recommendation in the last meeting or the meeting before, I think, of that, just to push it forward to the selectmen. Your thoughts?
So basically, I just want to start out by saying that I think the overall intent is to offer whatever the legislature has allowed us to offer through enabling legislation to offer senior tax relief. So I think my intent was to get the board's support for asking this to see if the selectmen wanted to hear from the board or hear, votes in favor of any one of these programs. So basically, to summarize, I think the available options that the town hasn't adopted as local options, which would need to be voted by town meeting. This is the breadth of what's available that we can do. We have the senior tax work-off program, which seems to be pretty popular and administered by the senior center, and the assessors process those abatements against people's taxes, for seniors working on the tax work-off program. In 2016, I believe the earnings threshold in the law increased to $1,500, and Northborough increased their limit to $1,000 at that point, like after multiple presentations and so forth. The Board of Selectmen can vote to change that unilaterally without legislative body action, meaning town meeting doesn't need to vote on that change. The selectmen could vote to increase the limit to $1,500. I believe the board would probably be in favor of that, as would the folks from Council on Aging and the Senior Center would be in favor of that as well.
Jason, how many slots do we have?
There's no specific number or limit of slots. That's criteria that can be put in place by the selectmen. We've had an informal upper limit of 15 people that we've kind of used for budgeting or just projection purposes in the past, though I don't think that limit is anywhere. I think as long as there's a need for workers, we can appoint them. But I think, to date, we've generally had somewhere between 10 and 12 per year annually, participating in the program, and they come in through the senior center.
Okay.
Like I said, the selectmen can vote to change the limitations and the earnings limits too, as well, that are part of the program. They can change the criteria. So another provision to this section of law got added, whereby town meeting would have to act to adopt the section that would adjust the limit to it would be a higher income limit. It would be 1,000 hour or 1,200 hour, 1,000 or 1,200 hours at minimum wage, which would be, in Massachusetts, it would come out higher than the current limit, but that would take town meeting vote to increase that. And that section of law would also allow proxy workers. So if somebody's son or daughter worked for them on their behalf, they could apply that. They could get the same benefit as the senior if the senior weren't able to work in this program. That's something, that's part of the package that I think we'll lay out to selectmen if they want to go forward with that being part of the article or not. So getting out of the weeds and going on to the next item on the list, you mentioned it, senior tax deferrals under, clause 41A. We can increase the earnings limitation in that. Like we're set at the default by the law. So when the town adopted this, they didn't change any of the criteria that's offered by the law. It's basically the default. So it's 8% is the interest rate, and whatever it is in the law is what the limit is. So it's as time has gone on, that limitation is relatively low. And as you noted, Paul, a lot of the surrounding towns have adopted lower interest rates and increased the earnings limits. So that would take a vote at town meeting to change that. I think that, we would present an option of like what is reasonable, like what most towns surrounding us have changed those earning limitations to, and the interest rate, whether it be 4% or 2% or what have you. 8% is definitely high. We've in practice, there's been little interest in this program, and the interest rate and the earnings thresholds could be part of it. It's really hard to quantify how many people would actually participate in it should we increase the eligibility for it. It's hard to say until
We haven't had much of an uptick.
yeah.
We only have a couple. Northborough right now, I don't think has any. Is that correct, Patty?
We have one.
Okay, one. So it's
Yeah.
Jason, it isn't going to be any huge uptick,
Right.
but I think we should at least have the program, available. How does it work moving forward? Now, we've made a recommendation and put forward an article. What's the process?
What I foresee as a process is that, on our budget calendar, warrant articles are due to the town administrator by February. Let me look at my calendar here. February 3rd. So we would put forward a memo to the town administrator. I plan to do that to put this memo together, and I'll have you folks proofread it. I'm currently working on it right now to talk about the breadth of options and whether the selectmen should hear from us first before they put an article on it. But it's basically requesting a placeholder for an article, to at least one article to achieve at least one of these items. And then,
Okay, Jason,
then before
real
I
quick
skip
on
ahead,
Real
there
quick on
is
that
one
before you go
additional.
Before you go on, I want you to understand that, we're not necessarily tied to the 2% or the 45. I want
Right.
the discussion for them, and it's really,
Absolutely, yeah.
we've made that recommendation, but we're not
Right.
tied to it.
So I think it's important that the assessors are favorable about revising or going forward with some options, not necessarily being tied to the details of which one they want to decide on. You know what I'm saying? So I'm with you on that, Paul. Like, I don't disagree with you. So for this, the last item on the list would be the senior tax exemptions, which we could double through that. Oh God, what is it? Section 5C.5, which would allow us, if we adopt that section, it would allow us to raise all of the other exemptions that we offer under 59, Section 5, and all the other clauses. We could double them under this adoption, and that would take town meeting vote as well. So basically, there's going to be four options put forward, and they could do all four of them if they want to. And the memo would be to the administrator to request an article, a placeholder for an article as it's drafted, at least one article. And it's unclear to me whether all of the options could be adopted through one article, or if separate articles for each section of law would be required. So that would be a question for council, but that's why we would put it forward, a request for a placeholder. And we have time now. So like I said, I'm working on a memo with these options in it, so we can go forward with, making sure there's an article at town meeting.
Okay, you understand also the 5C.5, it does not double them automatically. It's a formula that happens slowly over time. Okay, I want you to make sure you understand that. It is not going to automatically double them. People tend to not realize that when they hear the description. It's a formula that slowly gets you there over years. And Jason, we can get you a little more data on that, how that works, if that's what you need.
The language of it, I'm not sure exactly how that works, but if you have an example of how that would work, that might be helpful, Paul. Like Section 59.5K is pages and pages and pages, so it's hard to decipher all of it. So if you have anything that is,
I have a spreadsheet, Jason. I think what I'll do is I can send it to you. Just, obviously it's going to have people on there. I'll probably just blank out the names or whatever, but I'll give you an idea of how it works. And you can kind of look at the formulas and get a little bit of a feel on how it works. Patty also has experience. She did it in Marlborough. She's
in Westboro
as well. So we'll come up with you. I want you to understand the math a little bit so that you can properly write it. You have a copy of the article that we passed.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Yes, thank you.
But you're definitely going to need to be able to explain it a little bit more.
Okay, yeah, so if you have a model form, I'd like to take a look at it to understand it. Like I said, the chapter 59, extremely lengthy chapter of Mass General Law. So could there be more in it? I'm not sure. Like looking in section 5, I didn't see the doubling clause because it's in it's actually in 5C.5 and not section 5. So
Yes, 5C.5.
it gets a little hard to follow the law sometimes. So if you have something that in practice shows how that law works, that would be something that would be worth including, I think, with our file here.
Okay.
So that was it. I just wanted to us to all be on record that we're in support of modernizing our senior tax relief and offering at least having a discussion over the options that are available.
Okay.
Beyond the options beyond the ones that are currently, allowed by law.
So Jason, how does this work? I'm still a little leery on how, or not quite understanding it. We do it, we throw in articles and it goes right to the what would be equivalent to our finance board here and the selectmen, and it's vetted through both of those. How do you put these through? Just explain a little bit about the process. I'm still not clear. Do we have a process?
They get submitted through the town administrator. So here the charter has the budget being the town administrator's responsibility under our charter. Yep. So we have a budget calendar, and the warrant articles go to the town administrator first. That's the first step. Okay. And as with everywhere, the selectmen control the warrant and what goes on the warrant. Things that aren't actually petitions, things that are coming through departments and so forth. So typically the warrant articles go through the town administrator for that reason.
And then does the board or whoever sponsored it go in front of the board in the finance committee? How does that work?
Well, I believe if the finance committee would weigh in and offer a recommendation on it, I mean, if they want to have a meeting and have a hearing, that's one thing before making a recommendation on it. I mean, some of the financial articles and so forth don't require an actual discussion if a lot of like the merits of it are apparent on the front end.
Okay.
But anyway, the important thing is to go forward with getting information to the administrator's office to make a placeholder for a warrant article. So this stays in the pipeline.
Okay. I think we're good with that. And I think while you're here, we also did you see the article that we have for appraisal services, or we're looking to put forward?
Yeah. So here the practice would be that we would put this into the departmental budget. So we would have an amount within contracted services in the assessor's budget. If that's not sufficient, I mean, we want the department to have the ongoing ability to have appraisal services or contracted services as needed, so that's what.
Okay, I'm not looking for, I don't want to have it in the budget, because then you would have to have it in the budget every single year. That's why I put it through as an article. And again, in Southborough, we put together an article. The article was probably 15 years ago, and we haven't used all of it yet. And again, so the article stays there, and it, obviously doesn't expire at the end of the year. And the board can just, as it sees fit, when it's time, if we got to go to court on something, we need a professional appraisal, as we did on one of our large commercial buildings. The money's there, it's transparent. We know where it's coming from. And again, we'll transfer it out of overlay reserve. You do that by releasing money prior to town meeting. That's the preferred way.
Yeah, that's Paul, that's not how we prefer to do it here, though. We prefer to put it in the annual budget. If it's not used, it doesn't get used per year, but that's my point, is that I want the department to have the resources it needs on an annual basis. So Having a separate article just wouldn't be necessary if it's in the annual budget.
So you want to hold that much money in a budget?
Yes. That's how we paid for the appraisal for Northborough Crossing, and that's how we would intend to handle it going forward.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, if we have a situation where more money is needed for an appraisal, what would the process be?
I think we crossed that bridge when we came to it. I mean, we have the availability of appropriations reserve fund for extraordinary unforeseen expenses. We haven't had that issue where we haven't had enough resources to pay one of our contractors to do something we need to do. I mean, hasn't come up, Chris.
Okay, okay. And if it just happens to cross fiscal years, they just, I forget the term now, that you put a hold on that, or you reserve that
Yeah,
amount.
I mean, that's
Okay.
an annual thing
Encumbrance.
that comes
Sure.
up.
Perfect. Thank you.
Encumbrance and carry forward the money to make it available, to be paid out, after the year that it's been obligated. So that's typically, and thinking back on the details, that was, the most recent case where we had to, that's what we did with the most recent case where we had to hire an appraiser for, which you guys were involved with.
Jason, if we're going to do it in the budget, then I don't think I'd do as high as 25. I would back it down to probably 15. Chris, will that, a good sized commercial property, is that going to cover an appraisal 15?
Usually, on a bigger sized property, what you do is you ended up doing a, like we did with the Northborough Crossing, you have a preliminary, whatever term they want to use for that. And it lets you know if you're in the ballpark. Excuse me. And that's always not putting myself forward to do this for pay, but it's something I could take a look at, run the rough numbers, and be able to say, yeah, we probably will be in this range. And then you hire someone to really narrow it down.
So would you be good if, so is 15 kind of an okay number? I don't want to go to 25. It's gonna.
No, 15 at
put it in
this
the budget.
point
I don't
should
wanna
be,
tie that much money up.
no, that should be okay for right now.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's good to know. I'll be working closely. I mean, everything that we do is going to be transparent. It's going to be through Lee. I know he's new and everything, but we're working on the budget. He's going to have input into it, and we'll be working on that collaboratively. And it's not going to be nothing will be even opaque. It's going to be completely transparent.
Okay. Chris, Lee, we don't need Jason for anything else, do we?
I think that's everything.
Jason, we
Yeah,
can
so-
appreciate your time, pal.
Oh, no, thanks a lot. So from what I understand, you folks are all in favor of these 4 options, and you're not necessarily, I'm not going to put any details in a memo to the administrator, but I've read the room correctly that you're all, we've had informal discussions about this. Now we're having a formal discussion in a meeting, and you are in favor of moving forward with any one of these or all of these tax relief options.
All of them.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. We'll kick around the details of it as we go along, but like I said, it's important for us to get in the pipeline for the warrant articles this year. So
Awesome. Thank you, Jason.
we'll get there. All right. Thanks a lot,
All
guys.
right.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Jason.
Thanks for the invite. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on. Our next agenda item would be to vote on the minutes of the last meeting of December 19th. Do I have a motion to accept?
Chris,
Motion to accept.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Thank you.
Just as, just as a point of order, would it be best, and for more formal, if Lee makes all the motions to accept, et cetera, et cetera?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. If that's what you,
Let's get Lee through the first meeting first, and then we'll make some changes there.
We were just gonna put our raises through, Lee, so, okay.
Watch and learn, Lee. Watch and learn.
Also, Patty, why don't you? Lee wasn't here for that meeting, so he might want to abstain from that.
abstain, yeah.
He's going to
I'll
abstain from that.
Oh, sure. Okay. Good point. Thank you. Okay, so our next agenda item is to approve some motor vehicle excise tax abatements. We have 14 abatements at $1,111.86 from December 22nd. We also have 6 abatements at $519.66 from December 30th, and 4 at $671.95 from January 12th, for a grand total of $2,303.47. Do I have a motion to accept the excise tax abatements as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. All right. We've talked about the remaining, well, the next 3 as part of our discussion with Jason. So I'll jump to signature authority for Lee. Right now we have certain authorities in place that were voted previously, and obviously we need to update to include Lee's name in some of our documentation. So as part of your packet of information, I gave you what we've been working off of in the recent past. We could agree to keep things as is. I know, Paul, you had mentioned that you wanted to discuss.
Okay, yeah, hold on a sec. Let me, okay.
Has Lee been briefed on what, gets stamped and what we review as a board?
Lee has seen copies of these.
I know the
which I
gateway,
sent to you.
I know the gateway approval is necessary. Is the other one necessary, or how do you want to handle that?
Well, the other one is was also sent to the Division of Local Services
Okay.
for them to have on record, and it has to do with signature authority for you, whether to initial reports, or will we require signatures from all board members, or some combination depending on what the report or the document is. So right now, would you like me to run down the list?
Actually, Chris, do you mind, I feel bad, Lee's just getting into this. How about we push this off to the next meeting?
Sure.
Give him
Yeah.
a little more time. I mean, I want to
Okay.
revisit this, but what are we meeting, Patty? 2 weeks?
We're meeting on, I think the 31st was what we had set up tentatively.
Okay, and we're probably still going to go that route. Can we push that
Sure.
off? Just want to give him a little bit more time to look at it and think about it. And get an
Absolutely.
idea on what they did in Millbury and what he's.
Okay.
Chris,
So
you okay
in the
with that?
meantime,
Absolutely.
we'll operate as we have been.
Yes.
Okay. That works. Great. Okay,
So,
so we'll table that until next time.
Perfect.
All right. That wraps things up for the open session portion of the meeting, unless anybody has any more questions or input.
Nope.
I think we're
Okay,
good.
do I have a motion to adjourn open session and enter executive session? We will not be coming back after that meeting. We will adjourn directly from executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Aye,
Do I need to read this blurb about moving to executive session?
you should.
In open, okay. So move to executive session pertinent to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Purpose 7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant and aid requirements in accordance with MGL Chapter 59, Section 60, requiring confidentiality. At the conclusion of executive session, the board will adjourn. So let's do that again. Do I have a motion to conclude the open session portion of the meeting and enter executive session?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.